all this is true, and you knew about it, then you're as bad as him.
Skyler White has always been a divisive character, someone fans seemingly love to hate. And when you first watch the series, I kinda get it. We are following Walt's exciting rise to the top, where we watch him risk everything, time and time again. And then when he comes home, Skyler is the wet blanket, holding him back and slowing things down. But it's hard to know what exactly people want or expect from her. Breaking Bad is written from Walt's point of view. The show is on his side. And for a series that is always complimented for its incredible writing, fans should accept that Skyler is a crucial part of that. But unfortunately for her, that's because she is mostly written as an antagonist, a domestic threat for Walt to overcome. As when the protagonist is breaking all the rules, there needs to be danger in every direction for him to avoid, and part of that is preventing Skyler from finding out. Just imagine how much worse the series would be if Sky was totally relaxed about breaking the law. Every episode would be far less compelling, as there would be less conflict and thus lower stakes. But instead the writers went the opposite direction. They loaded Walt with so many life or death problems, after cleanly setting up that his primary motivation is making money for his family, which then makes Skyler's lack of enthusiasm or acceptance of his crimes come across as oddly ungrateful. But then when you re-watch the series, now viewing Walt as the villain rather than the hero, it's clear that Skyler is just a victim of circumstance. She's been thrust into a situation that's out of her control because of her husband. And while he is improving their family's financial situation, she still has to look out for their family's safety and protect her children from the truth. But a lot of viewers passionately feel that Skyler is a hypocrite, that she just likes to feel better than Walt while enjoying the fruits of his labor, and that she has several moments throughout the series where she reveals her true colors. But is this true? Let's examine everything Skyler White has done wrong over the course of Breaking Bad to see if we can determine whether or not, on balance, she deserves the title of victim or villain. So the first charge is that she's a controlling hypocrite. Whether it's small things, like reminding Walt not to use the wrong credit card, or being shocked to discover he allegedly smokes pot, it's clear that Skyler is highly risk-averse. Everything has to be done by the book and to her moral standard, and if not, she will voice her opposition at every opportunity. But she is intentionally written this way so that it cages Walt and sets the stakes for what will happen if she ever finds out. I mean, if she's upset about a little bit of pot, manufacturing meth won't exactly go down well. But then even after Walt tells her to please, just once, get off his ass about the pot, she takes it a step further by going to Jesse's home and threatening to tell her brother-in-law Hank, who works for the DEA. Again, setting the stakes for what might happen if she finds out the truth. But morally, she's already fine with threatening Jesse to prevent her husband from even having the option to continue his fake pot habit. That is pretty controlling. But arguably, she is just looking out for her family's well-being, as if Walt gets busted with drugs, he might lose his job as a teacher. But all the while, she smokes cigarettes, even while she's pregnant. After already having one child that has cerebral palsy, she's now risking the life of another. Okay, not great. But this didn't happen on its own. Marie says that Skyler hasn't smoked cigarettes since college, so what could have pushed her over the edge? Stress. Stress caused by Walt disappearing constantly, lying to her face, and operating with a secret second cell phone. Ever since his diagnosis, she's been gaslit at every turn.
Then tell me, now.
Tell you what?
So while this isn't an excuse for smoking while pregnant, as the series progresses and Skyler is forced into more and more uncomfortable positions, we see her smoking habit increase. So this is very clearly stress-related. Another charge against Skyler is that she tries to keep Walt away from his family after everything he's done for them. Once she discovers that Walt never received money from Gretchen and Elliot and has been lying about his whereabouts constantly, whether it be his fake fugue state or pretending to go on a trip to see his mother, she realizes he must be a drug dealer, as there's no other way he could have made that much money that fast. Just imagine the levels of deceit, of how caught off guard she would be. She's been living in a lie for months. So she kicks him out of the house, asks for a divorce, wants full custody, calls the cops, stays with Hank and Marie, does whatever she can to keep her children away from their criminal father. Nope, fans don't like this, as Walt is out there sacrificing everything for her and the kids, and this is how she repays him? This only feels wrong as long as you believe that Walt is doing this for the family. Although,
I did it for me.
But in reality, Skyler's reaction is completely legitimate. Even if you don't believe drugs should be illegal, the reality is they are, and Walt is not only putting himself at risk of imprisonment with the law, but more importantly, he's getting involved with dangerous criminals. For example, let's say you and your partner are in financial trouble. One day they return home and say they took out a loan from the bank to pay off your debts with a bad interest rate. Not ideal. Alternatively, imagine they came home and say they have resolved the issue by taking out a loan from the cartel. Which one keeps you up later at night? Now, you might not like either, but one clearly crosses the line into the unknown, where the man who says he's doing this for his family is actually putting them in more danger than they even know. The next charge is that she cheated on Walt. When Skyler believed the family needed money for Walt's treatment, she decided to get her old job back as a bookkeeper for Ted Beneke, a guy who has flirted with her in the past. And then not only does she hold Ted's hand and sing him a sexy song for his birthday, but she then kisses him in the break room and sleeps with him multiple times. But adultery is the one crime Walt never committed. Well, okay, he did try to kiss a colleague afterwards as revenge, but that apparently doesn't count, as he failed. And he did technically try to assault her that one time when he wouldn't take no for an answer, but that doesn't matter. For most fans, this affair is their reason to hate Skyler, as finally, Miss High and Mighty has done something objectively wrong. But it's not as clear-cut as we want to believe. She did not cheat in a vacuum. The full context is that Skyler felt underappreciated for everything she was doing for Walt. Being married to someone with terminal lung cancer isn't easy, and it's made harder due to Walt's constant disappearing act.
Being that rock takes everything you got.
So yes, she is crossing a line here with someone she knows is attracted to her, but a brief handhold doesn't mean much yet. It's understandable, she needs emotional support as she's being totally isolated by her husband. Then when she sings Happy Birthday Mr. President to Ted, she only performs because of the social pressure of everyone cheering her on and insisting she does it. Could she have done it less flirtatiously? Yes, but Ted is the one who orchestrated this. She didn't exactly come up with the idea herself. Then she kisses Ted in the office. No excuse for that one, right? Well, no, she is betraying her husband. But in the context of the series, she has recently discovered that Walt is a meth manufacturer and desperately wants a divorce from him so she can keep the kids safe. He also has all this money now and she doesn't know what he's capable of anymore. So in order to guarantee he divorces her, she needs him to emotionally want a divorce. That's why she cheats on him and tells Walt to his face. She's effectively telling him, "Divorce me." Of course, if the show wasn't written from Walt's perspective, this would be completely justified, as her husband has already betrayed her over and over by putting her in danger, as well as potential legal trouble. Remember that this is what Skyler signed up for, a peaceful suburban life with a husband and children. She never judged Walt for their financial trouble, even stood by him when he had cancer, got her old job back, went down every avenue for alternative financial support, and convinced him to get the treatment in the first place. So really, without Skyler, there would be no Breaking Bad at all, as Walt would have just accepted death without putting up a fight. However, she is just using Ted, which is villainous, but this affair is the only escape she gets from the prison Walt has her trapped in, because due to his actions, she can never go back to the life they once had. Think about it. If she tells the police, their family is destroyed. If she tells the kids, their family is destroyed. If she doesn't tell the police, she's now an accomplice. If she doesn't tell the kids, they prefer Walt to her, as she always has to be the one who says no. But that leads to the next charge against Skyler. She broke bad too.
If you're gonna launder money, Walt, at least do it right.
On paper, after wanting to spend some of Walt's money, she constructed the gambling alibi and decided to use her skills as a bookkeeper to help launder his drug money. Surely there's no defense for that.
You are now an accessory after the fact. You are culpable.
Her lawyer even offered her a way to get a restraining order against Walt, which could have led to his imprisonment. So she had the choice. But similar to Walt, she chose the preservation of their family over doing what's legal or even moral. So then she's just as bad as he is, right? Right? Well, no. Aside from never murdering anyone, or manufacturing or dealing any drugs, she never chose to be in this situation. Walt put her there. But if we look at what happens to Skyler over the first 2 seasons, a few things seem to influence her thinking. Firstly, she discovers that her sister Marie is a kleptomaniac, even gifting her a stolen piece of jewelry. Then when she tells Hank, assuming he'll do the right thing, it turns out he already knows, and says they're working on it and she just needs everyone's support. After that, when she works for Ted, it turns out he wants her to cook the books to keep the business afloat. Similar to Walt, he's just as willing to break the rules in order to provide for his family. So from every angle, she's seeing that people turn a blind eye to the rules when it comes to their loved ones. Why should she be any different? So yes, she figures out a way to help Walt launder the money in a way that won't arouse any suspicion. It can't be laser tag or a nail salon, it needs to be the car wash, a business Walt already knows from his years of service. And she can manage it, taking on all the risks of turning a blind eye to do the job properly. But this makes her have to account for everything, so when Walt buys a flashy car or even a bottle of champagne, Skyler has to play the party pooper, reminding him that they need to keep down with appearances. This isn't fun for her. She stays awake at night worrying about ways they could get caught, even making Walt attend Gamblers Anonymous meetings so that they can be seen there and have others validate their story. All of this attention to detail would be admired if it came from someone as meticulous as Gus Fring, or even Walt himself. But because it comes from Skyler, perhaps out of sexism, perhaps out of always disliking her for always being against the whole operation, she gets criticized instead of praised for her intelligence. And let's not pretend that Skyler changed her attitude because she wanted to spend money on frivolous things. We never see her go on a shopping spree or even enjoy herself. She only came up with the gambling lie and agreed to launder the money herself because that way they could pay for Hank's rehabilitation, as she suspects Walt had something to do with it. So Skyler is doing wrong, but only to make things right. But we do see the power go to Skyler's head. Once she has her mind set on something, she has to have it that way in order to feel safe. For example, when she wants to buy the car wash from Walt's former boss, Mr. Wollenitz, he misogynistically dismisses Skyler's presence as a sign Walt just isn't man enough to face him himself and instead sends his woman. So Skyler teams up with Saul Goodman to change Wollenitz's mind by sending in a phony government inspector to say that he's breaking the Toxic Substances Control Act and will need to upgrade his systems, which will cost him more money than he even has. Then when he calls back to revisit her offer, she plays hardball and lowers the offer to $800,000. She claims this is for optics, as they need to make it look like they're just pushing for the best price. But it's clear that she's finally enjoying her power to bully people around and get her way. She tried to play nice, but he underestimated her, and just like her husband, Skyler has an ego too. In fact, the thrill of being trusted with this whole car wash scheme is what leads her back into bed with Walt, which admittedly makes her look pretty complicit. We see more of Skyler's villainous side come out when it comes to Ted Beneke. After asking Skyler to cook the books and sign off on so many accounts, now the IRS are investigating his business. And because of her signature, their car wash will now be under additional scrutiny, which runs the risk of exposing everything. So she secretly takes Walt's money without his permission and gets Saul to send it to Ted under the guise of a dead relative passing away. But Ted doesn't do what she wants with the money. Instead, he naively wants to get the business back up and running again. On paper, it sounds pretty bad from here. Skyler instructs Goodman's goons to call over and coerce Ted into signing the check to the IRS. But when Beneke makes a break for it, he falls and injures himself badly. She decides to visit him in hospital, where a terrified Ted tells her he will never breathe a word of this to anyone, and she coldly responds.
Good.
So surely this is her villain moment. She hired goons to hurt her ex-lover and coerce him into doing what she wanted. While this definitely doesn't look good, Skyler specifically told Saul that she doesn't want anyone to get hurt. They even checked that Ted didn't have a registered firearm. Plus, she's only in this position because she did Ted a favor by signing off on those accounts. Really, he owes her, but here she is actually offering to dig him out of a bad situation for free, and he's too stupid to take the opportunity. So although the goons did coerce and intimidate him, the injury was partially Ted's fault. No one grabbed him, tripped him, or beat him. He fell. So while she has to play the villain to keep him quiet, she's only ever been trying to help him and protect her family from the mess that he got her into. But then we come to the final and most serious charge against Skyler White, telling Walt to kill Jesse.
You need to deal with this.
What exactly are you saying?
Most viewers love Jesse, as he's one of the few moral guiding voices in Breaking Bad, and now Skyler wants him dead. Pretty indefensible. Except that Jesse had just poured gasoline all over their home and was endangering their family. Remember that after she found out Walt killed Gus, she no longer views her husband the same way. He's become the danger he claimed to be. Therefore, she had to put the kids with Hank and Marie, claiming that she was a danger to herself and the children. Whatever she had to do, paying the price with months of depression and despondency. Then she finally talks Walt into quitting the meth business, and now they're in the clear, they're safe, and to some extent, normal again. Until out of nowhere, Hank is on their case, and Jesse is threatening to burn down their house. So she's in full self-protection mode. Sure, she values Hank, but she's still willing to help Walt turn the tables on him with their confession tape. But she doesn't value Jesse at all. From her perspective, he's always been the problem. The guy who sucked Walt into this meth world to begin with, and now he's threatening to kill their entire family. This is the first time she's ever dealt with such a threat. She's seen Walt with cuts and bruises, heard him scared, but gasoline all over their home, this is new. So her response to it is pure self-defense. Keep in mind that Skyler doesn't know everything the viewer knows. She only knows what Walt tells her or that she's managed to figure out herself. She's certainly not keeping tabs on the feud between two drug dealers. She's just trying to protect her family and keep a lid on their life of lies. As always, from the very beginning, she just wants this to be over. And although encouraging Walt to murder anyone seems so out of left field for her, she has been worn down to the point that now it's a price she's willing to pay for her family's safety. The one thing she's tried to look out for from the start. So while Skyler White may not be the most virtuous person to ever walk the earth, she's easily one of the most moral characters in the Breaking Bad universe, and deserving of a lot more respect than she gets.
I'm just the bitch mom who wouldn't cut you any slack.
Once she figures out that Hank's been killed, there is no ambiguity to what side she's always been on. If Walt had never done what he did, she definitely would have taken the money from Gretchen and Elliot, or she would have worked a job, gone into debt, whatever it took to do things by the book to set a good example for her children. All Skyler ever wanted was a normal life. It may not have been glamorous, but it was honest, and instead her loyalty was rewarded with a life of crime, being lied to day in, day out, stressing about her missing husband so much that she even had to check the morgues. Some fans just enjoy Walt's character arc so much that they don't want to see things from Skyler's perspective. For instance, he didn't give her a gift of millions of dollars. He handed her a ticking time bomb. As his wife, she was suddenly legally tied to a murderous drug dealer, who slithered his way back into their home, emotionally abused her, turned her son against her, made her complicit, threatened her, fought her, and kidnapped their baby girl. And all while keeping her in the dark about the full extent of his crimes, the lives he's taken, and the unspeakable things he's done. So while people may dislike Skyler for pumping the brakes on Walt's runaway train, or say she's equally to blame for keeping his secrets, because she was presented as an antagonist in the early seasons, I think it's a case of damned if you do, damned if you don't. If she breaks bad, she's not bad enough. If she tries to show she's good, then she's not good enough.
You're always whining and complaining about how I make my money. You have to stop this. It's immoral, it's illegal, while I do everything.
But if you really think about it, when Walt calls her up and tries to paint her as a helpless victim to the eavesdropping police, he really doesn't have to exaggerate all that much. She was always whining and complaining. She did say this is wrong and illegal, and he did do almost everything himself. So if you empathized with Walt because he originally claimed he did all of this for his family, then maybe you should rethink your allegiance. As in the bigger picture, Skyler was the real deal, doing whatever it takes to protect her family from whoever endangers them most, even if it's her own husband.
Get away from us!
So if you made it this far, firstly, thank you for watching. But if you could now click like, subscribe, and the notification bell, as otherwise that pesky algorithm will continue to suppress my videos from your feed.